Right. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakafagash. And the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Old tongue. And I say Barak upon to the elders and apostles, Akim, Akwaf, when I say Shalom. And this is a prophecy update as of January 26, 2026, on this Monday morning. And I'm gonna get to some newest articles. As we've seen, gold reach an all-time high once again. Get to that news article. Yep, it says the gold breaks news. The gold breaks new ground as a safe haven surge continues. Right, because I believe it was like last week or a week and a half ago, and all the way to now, we've been seeing the gold have been increasing. We've been seeing the dollar, the value of the dollar has been declining, especially with the stock markets, been up and down, back and forth, last week and a half ago. As we enter the new week, even though the markets are up right now, but we definitely been seeing the increase in surge of gold, gold. And as we're seeing the dollar is capering, we're seeing signs of that. It says the market turmoil and the weakening the U.S. dollar has pushed a bullion beyond 5,100 an ounce. Right, so the elders and apostles been talking about this. The gold been increasing and the dollar value been declining, even though the value of the greenback dollar is still valuable in America and around the world. But we start to see the increasing of the rising of the gold. So it's the dollar been declining. It says gold prices has surged in a new record as investors seeking safety from escalating global tensions and the volatile of the U.S. dollar. It says February 2026 futures contracts on the COMEX surpassed 5,100 for troy ounce on Monday, with a gain of roughly 2.5%, according to the exchange data. Analysts attributes that the rally to the market turmoil and policy shift, including actions by the administration of President Donald Trump aiming at influencing the Federal Reserve and intentions to acquire Greenland and military intervention in Venezuela. It says the price of both gold and silver has soared. Right, so the price of gold and silver has increased, especially for the past 2.5 weeks. It says the price of both gold and silver has soared over the past year, all over the past year as well too. Make a mistake about that. Yep, the price of gold and silver has soared over the past year. And precious metals then are commonly viewed as a safe haven access during the period of the market turbulence. The gold rushed more than 60% in 2025 and silver approximately 150%. The rally has been further fueled by a sharp decline in the U.S. dollar. Right, we've been seeing a definite decline in the U.S. dollar, even though it's still high value. We've definitely seeing a decline of it, while gold and silver have been increasing. It says which lower gold's cost for overseas investors to bring back fall was compounded by the turmoil in Japan as a historical sell-off in government bonds sparked a worldwide recession in sovereign debt. The rallies has generated a windfall gains for Russia that Bloomberg reports. Right, 'cause I believe Russia's currency been increasing as well too, despite the fact they was dealing with economic sanctions and freezing asset sanctions from the West. Because I believe it was like a couple of weeks ago, Russia currency was increasing as well too. It says the rally has generated a windfall gain for Russia that Bloomberg reports. It says are comparable to the value of the sovereign assets freezing in the West, around 300 billion. Unlike the block funds, Russia gold reserves can't be sold or pledged as a collateral, restoring significant financial capacity. According to the latest data from the Federal Assessment Chamber, Russian gold reserves stood at 74.8 million troy ounce, 2,326.54 metric tons at the start of 2026. The market's value of the bullion surge nearly 6.67% over the previous year, from 195.7 billion to 326.5 billion as of January 1st. Reuters reported analysts saying that the gold has more to climb this year, potentially towards 6,000, and mounting global tensions and strong demands for central banks and consumers that the metal has already surged. JP Morgan's late December forecast was projected will be towards 5,000 ounces by the fourth quarter of 2026. It says Russian experts, meanwhile, shares in even more bullish perspective that the price of gold reaching 10,000 per ounce is achievable in which 3 to 4 years. Adam Sands, if I pronounce his name right, the expert of BKS Beer Investments, told that Russian media he said this would occur if high international tensions and a loss of trust in the U.S. dollar continues. Right, so we're going to see more signs of that and the loss of the trust in the U.S. dollar. Hey, Shalom, hey, Yahweh Shema Shabbat, out to you or your household. Shalom. Yeah, so we'll read that last paragraph again. It says, I told the Russian media, he said that this would occur if high international tensions and a loss of trust in the U.S. dollar continues. Right, so we're seeing more signs of that. The nations, even the allies of America and the Western countries, they're going to continue to, once these high tensions continue to increase between these nations, just like the United States was like a couple of days ago, threatened to use terrorist sanctions against Canada, and then with the recent sanctions that the United States continue to put on these nations, they were saying that if the international tensions as a loss of trust in the U.S. dollar continues, right? So as we see it, the gold being increased right along with the silver from last year and all the way to now, and as of recently, so it's been increasing. So we're starting to see the increasing decline of the U.S. dollar. Yep, it says market turmoil and a weakening U.S. dollar has pushed a bullion beyond 5,100 an ounce. And so these gold and silver rates are increasing. So that shows that's a sign right there. Hey, we're starting to see modern day Babylon's fall. Like it says in Jeremiah the 51st chapter. Hey, so we're going to have healed Babylon, which is not healed. And we're starting to see the beach hit the war. This is Revelation 17 verse 16. And they were saying that if these international tensions continue to increase, especially these economic tensions, these sanctions tensions, and these terrorist tensions, if they continue to increase, we're going to see more and more of all the nations are not trusting in the American dollar anymore. So that's just saying we're seeing Babylon's fall, because America resembles modern day Babylon. But this is the mystic part of Babylon the Great. And this is Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 7. It says Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, right? Has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken wine, therefore the nations are mad, right? So therefore the nations are mad. So the more we continue to see these international tensions between the Western countries and definitely modern day Babylon Great, hey, so that shows that they most less highly not depending on the American dollar or being allies of using the great back dollar no more. So we're going to be starting to see that increase. So gold and silver is going to continue to increase the price of this world too, while the weakening of the dollar continues to decline, increasing. So we're going to see more signs of that. If these international economic tensions are going to spark between these nations, we'll still continue to increase. Hey, it's Nero 47. He's going to push forth more of that. This is Jeremiah 51 verse 8. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen, destroyed. However, her take on for her pain is so that she may be healed. Right, so that's the healing for Babylon. We would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Jeremiah 51 and verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Forsake her from letting us go everyone to his own country. For her judgments reach to heavens and lift up to the skies. For her judgments reach to heaven and lift up to the skies. That's what we're seeing. So back to some more news articles. And this was a news article that caught my attention as well too, because I've been speaking about this numerous times about this nuclear treaty deal. It's going to expire February the 6th. So that I was mentioning that yesterday when I did indoor ministry yesterday. I was saying about keeping an eye on this nuclear treaty deal between the United States and Russia. I believe if I can find that news article because it did mention that. This is let's see. See if I can be able to find it because it was one person that mentioned about because everybody's going to be at risk of nuclear. Bring that news article up. Oh yeah. No, I don't think that's it. Let me see. Did see the news article. See the news article. But bring up that Ezekiel the 38th chapter. But it was a news article that caught my attention from RT.com. I can't even find it. But you had one of the representations from I think from the NATO nations or something like that. He was quoting that if the United States or Russia don't come to an agreement on extending this nuclear treaty deal, he said everybody's at a nuclear threat. Everybody's gonna face a nuclear threat from Russia or the United States. And I was like, that goes into that Ezekiel the 38th chapter. So that's what we're seeing. And this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38. Because once this nuclear treaty expires, that's going to give more Russia building up more nuclear capacity. That's going to get them unlimited of nuclear usage to building more and more of that nuclear capability. That's going to give the United States arms green light as well too to building up their nuclear capability. So that shows that if this nuclear treaty expires February 6, 2026, and so that shows that these tensions between Russia and the United States is potentially going to heat up more and more. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 4. It says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth from all thy army, horse and horsemen, offer them clothes for all sorts of armor, even great couple of bucks of shields, and all of them swords." Right, so that shows that Russia, they still going to be in that warlike mindset. Because once this nuclear treaty expires, that's going to give them a green light. That's going to give them a green light to build up more and more of their nuclear capability. So we definitely see that Isaiah 13 verse 17 is in full effect as well too. And this is the book of Isaiah chapter 13. Yep, it's the book of Isaiah chapter 13 verse 17. It says, "Behold, I will stir with the Medes," right? The Russians, the Medes. And as for gold, it says, it says, "I will stir up the Medes against them, which they should not regard silver, and as for gold, they should not fight in it." Right, so as for gold and silver, they should not fight in it. So the tension between Russia and the United States is going to continue to increase as we see the times are approaching of this nuclear treaty deal. Most likely is going to expire unless they come to some type of agreement. But till then, once this nuclear treaty is going to expire on February 6, 2026, and as the guy said, as I quoted him, he was saying that if this nuclear treaty expires between the United States and Russia, everybody's at a nuclear threat. Hey, so Joel, the third chapter is in full effect, and at Matthew's 24th chapter, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, wars building up. And this is a news article from RT.com. It says Iran finger on trigger to repel U.S. attacks. General reports. It says Mohammed Al-Hor of the Revolutionary Guard Corps has issued a storm warning after Nero 47 said a massive fleet was bound for the region. It says, I think Iran had some type of big old replica of they had a billboard of a big old replica over there in Iran. I peeped that yesterday. And they were saying that I forgot the quotes what they said on there. They had like the U.S. planes being shot by missiles and drones. Things like if y'all there to go against Iran, we warn the United States armies. And so that shows was that Joel, the third chapter, let the weak Sam strong. It says, has issue. It says the Revolutionary Guard Corps has issued a stern warning. Donald Trump has said a massive fleet. I believe that's Armada, that big old Armada ship. And that Abraham Lincoln ship is up deployed over in the Middle East because it was over there in the South China Sea. It says a massive fleet was bound for the region. It says the Iranian Islamic Republic Guard Corps, the IRGC, stands ready with its finger on the trigger to fend off any U.S. or Israeli aggressions, right? Or any or Israeli aggressions. It says, and we never been seeing tension between Iran and its defense forces throughout the years, and recently as well too, as Iran is getting prepared for another nuclear strike, the second round of it against the United States armies and against the Israel defense forces. So Iran said they fully prepared, they ready this time. It says it has one. When it comes to sooner, it says it comes sooner after the Tehran managed contains to massive protests which have been going on for weeks. It says the unrest erupted in late December over the rise in inflation and collapse of the national currency quickly descend into violent riots. It says accompanied by political demands, and according to the Iranian authorities, which weeks of violence left at least 3,000 people unalive. Tehran's accusing the U.S. Israel and instigating the turmoil. The U.S. President Donald Trump has made several threats against Iran and telling Iran demonstrators at one point help his own way. It says a Packpool pledge that Tehran's adversaries were its painful ramifications at the hands of Tehran forces in the event of any attack. It says a site by News on Saturday. The general also warned the U.S. and Israel against making any miscalculations to inflict a painful and regrettable fate or any would be aggressors. The IRGC is more ready than ever, finger on the trigger to defend Iran, he stressed it. After repeatedly threats to use force against Iran, President Donald Trump appears to tone down his rhetoric somewhat last week, claiming that he has convinced himself not to attack the country after all. The remarks followed several reports suggesting that the U.S. military strikes against the Islamic Republic. It says, speaking to the reporters on Friday, however, Trump stated that he was still closely watching the situation in the country. We have a massive fleet heading to that direction. It says maybe we won't have to use it. We will have a lot of ships heading towards that direction, just in case. Then the president said. It says while the Pentagon has issued no official statement, a number of media reports has indicated that the aircraft carrier group led by the USS Abraham Lincoln is en route to the Middle East from the South China Sea. Right, because I mentioned that yesterday. And this is Isaiah 13, verse 17. Behold, I will stir up the bees against them, which they shall not simmer as a gold, they shall not in it. Because you're going to see the relations between Russia and Iran so it'll continue to increase. Hey, so you basically got like what you got that on WWE? You got like a tornado tag team. A tornado team tag team matchup. You're gonna have you're gonna have you're gonna have the United States armies and Israel Defense Force armies tag teaming against Russia in Iran. That's how it's gonna be. And this is Matthew's 24th chapter. Yep, it's in Matthew's 24th chapter. So and this is the book of Matthew's 24 and verse 6. It says, ye shall hear of wars, rumors of wars. See, that should be not trouble for all these things must first come to pass, but it's not yet. Right, so we see in wars, rumors of wars, continue to increase. Matthew's 24 and verse 7. It says, a nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, that's what we see in Iran versus Israel defense force and the United States armies versus the Iranian armies. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, Russia versus Ukraine, that's intensifying. And there should be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, so you can have earthquakes in diverse places right along with the famines and pestilence and nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. As it says again from RT.com, Iran has a finger on the trigger to repel U.S. attacks, general reports. So the Russia-Ukraine situation is only going to intensify. It says Russian deep strike drones obliterated Ukrainian military helicopters. So despite the fact they're pushing forth a ceasefire agreement, but we're still going to see the tensions heating up between Russia and Ukraine. So we get to the yeah, get to some more news articles. It says how a purge of China's military leadership could impact the army in Taiwan. Right, because you're still going to see tensions heating up over in Taiwan. China versus Taiwan as they get closer to invading the South China Sea. We're definitely seeing signs of that. That's another sign of wars, rumors of wars. And I believe it's another news article. It says an airport launched a C-19 style F check after a outbreak of a deadly virus. I think over there in, I think that's down there. I think that's down there, Africa, if I'm not mistaken, land of Ham. Because I believe it was another airstrike by the Israelis did over there in, I think over there in, what's that? Over there in Lebanon. I had beat that yesterday, despite the fact they're pushing forth a ceasefire agreement. This is, let's see. It says a U.S. warship visits China funding naval base. Let's see. Yep, it says Iran reveals a rule of warning to retaliation if U.S. conducts a military strike.
Where you going, man?
Not much.
Mother got far like, that's damn, how you finally?
But actually felt
Yeah. Just broke me on. Ain't been on in 2 days. Yeah. He said, hey, no, I want you to do it. I said, well, I can't even talk. Yeah. Talk to him. Yeah, man.
I know I've had some phone up like it's,
Yeah.
oh, you got more.
Yeah. I'm trying to clear it off. But yeah. Cut it off is when the co-worker coming up. Why do it that? Hmm?
So that's why.
Yeah.
Normally would like you hold down the power, but
What, session?
you see it like where you want to start it.
No, just turn it off.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's the password.
I forgot to do my hope this off. My girl.
Said like she don't.
Yeah. But can I ask you something? Turn the phone off. said, Saudi and turn it on. We started to saying what for the Cali, but he can't search it. Turn the phone off. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because at first, once I tried to choose an option, I turned it off because it said, I tried it like 3 times. We kept on saying, it's forbidden.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta talk about it. Turn it on. This shit crazy. You chilling, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, Bert over there, he was the old dope fiend over there was Jordan.
yeah. I let him use my phone.
Oh.
Yeah,
Why was his phone cut off?
No, he got one of those. No, he got one of those Android
Yeah.
phones that he used in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
You know.
Hey, Shalom. Yeah, how about Shema Shabbarak to you or your household, Shalom. And this is the book of Luke 21. Shalom to the brother Yuanathon. Hey, peace and blessing you as your household. Say Shalom. And this is the book of Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and upon the earth expressive nations with perplexity verse 1. Right, so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the upwards, we're used to seeing. And as we've been seeing, what's been taking place over there in Minnesota, which is only going to continue to increase. So we're seeing the division between the protesters over there and the ICE agents. You got the local authorities clash against the protesters over there in Minnesota. And we've been seeing that over there in Philadelphia, in Minnesota, here in Illinois, over there in Portland, Oregon. As I mentioned, it was that yesterday. You had I think it was the what's his name? I forgot his name because he's the mayor over there in Minnesota. He had the activated the National Guards over there, and just like they did over there in Portland, Oregon. Okay, so we're seeing the seditions among the nations. That's why it says Second Ezra 15th chapter. So we're gonna be seeing the signs in the sun, in the moon, and the stars, just like this recent blood moon that's about to come up in the month of March. These are signs that Yahweh showing us. It says there shall be signs in the sun, in the moon, and the stars, and upon the earth progressive nations with flexi verse 1. So we're going to see a more and more increasing impact of progressive nations. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, the seditions of uprisings, upwards of the world that we're going to be seeing on a day-to-day basis. And this is since I mentioned that Second Ezra. Yep, this is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15. Second Ezra 15 and verse 16. It says, for there shall be sedition among men invading one another. Hey, even if it's like below zero out there in Minnesota, like the elder had mentioned, because he out there in Florida. Hey, he was like, man, you got like protesters out there rising up against those ICE agents over there. You got temperatures like 2 degrees, and then it felt like negative 11 or 12 degrees or something like that, but they still out there uprising against their leaders of power. Second Ezra 15 verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor their princes, and of course actually in power. And that's what we see with the protests over there in Minnesota, over there in Portland, Oregon, and different parts of the United States. Because I believe over here in Illinois, even though it was like real cold, it was like snow because it was snowing all day yesterday, and you still had protesters down there in downtown Chicago. After that Edomite had got unalive over there in Minnesota a couple of days ago. And so these are more seditions that we're going to see an increase. It says, for there should be sedition among men invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor their princes, and of course actually stay in power. Right, that's what we're seeing. We're going to continue to see that increase. And this is the book of Second Ezra 16. Yep, the book of Second Ezra 16 and verse 70. Then I'm closed out. Yep, Second Ezra 16 verse 7. It says, for there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection. Right, so that's going to come to full effect because there's been a lot of, especially so far in the month of January, there's been a lot of, I would say from December of last year and all the way to now, there's been increasing talks about Euro 47 going to impose and enact that insurrection act. Because I believe he had sent somebody over there to Minnesota once again. So now he got 1,500 troops that he spoke about what was like a week and a half ago that he got on standby. So we're going to see if he's going to make that decision we're gonna see he weighed his options of him potentially might deploying 1,500 troops over there in Minnesota, and he's gonna potentially insurrection act. Second, Edit 16, verse 7. For there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection. Right. So for every place in the next cities, going to be a great insurrection. And we're seeing signs of that. That's going to come to full effect. And those that fear Yahweh. And so with that, hopefully this prophecy update was edifying of January 26, 2026 on this Monday morning. And shalom to the brother Yuanathon. Hey, shalom to the brother Malakabah. Hey, peace and blessing to your household, Hakim. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bah, and Shalom. Yeah, peace and blessing to you and your household. Shalom. And with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kadash, and the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem. In the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, that's the holy tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and the Hakim. I give all praise and glory unto to Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Karkadash, and Barakatham to the elders and apostles, while Hakim and Akwaf as always. Until next time, I will say, Kwame Sharala in the ball for ball. Shalom.